to reporters he will testify in spite of potentially embarrassing questions he could face on cross-examination. Judge Juan Merchan will also rule on those potential questions on Monday. Joining me now, Hugo Lowell, political investigations reporter with The Guardian. Hugo was in the courtroom this week. And Charles Coleman, former Brooklyn, New York prosecutor, now civil rights attorney, Msnbc legal analyst, and host of the Charles Coleman podcast. Welcome, guys. Good to have you both here. Hugo, you first here, because cameras are not allowed in the courtroom. So we need you to give us a sense of what it was like inside and what stood out to you in this first week.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually quite surreal, President Trump or former President Trump being the first former or current president to go to trial is a seminal moment. And I think the enormity of the moment was not lost on anyone in the courthouse. It wasn't lost on the reporters, and it certainly wasn't lost on the jurors when they filed in to the 15th floor at the courthouse and effectively looked at Trump, looked at the prosecution team, and had to go through the voir dire process. And just to kind of give a sense of how this all worked for the jury selection, there was basically a pool of reporters in the actual courtroom. Everyone else was in an overflow courtroom. That's where I was. And then next week, when we get to trial, things are going to change, and we're going to have actual reporters and the entire press corps essentially in the courtroom proper, as well as an overflow. So we will get more in real-time updates, basically, of Trump's demeanor and whether or not he's staying awake through the remainder of this trial.
Yeah, good question there. But in the closing stages, Hugo, of yesterday's hearings, Judge Merchan firmly told Donald Trump at one point to sit down. Then on Tuesday, he reportedly raised his voice when admonishing Trump's attorneys about potential juror intimidation in the courtroom. What were those back and forths about? How did Trump react?
The incident with the juror intimidation was when a juror was walking out, Trump made a remark that was audible enough to be heard in the overflow room. It was picked up on the microphones, and it was also picked up by the judge. And Judge Merchan really went apoplectic, and he was basically making the case that he's not going to tolerate any sort of juror intimidation in his courtroom because this has been a subject that has been an issue for all of Trump's criminal cases for a very long time. Trump likes to make comments about prospective trial witnesses, prospective jurors. In fact, he's been going on about that on his social media account, and that's partly why he is going to be before a contempt hearing on Tuesday to answer for his social media posts attacking people like Michael Cohen, and linking and posting articles from the New York Post attacking other trial witnesses. And so this is clearly going to become an issue, and it's going to be an issue throughout the trial. If Trump can stay seated, if he can stay a proper defendant, if he can adhere by the rules and keep his thoughts to himself. Otherwise, he's going to find himself in a world of legal trouble.
Well, of course, that would require discipline. Enough said there. Moving to you, Charles, because prosecutors, they initially resisted a defense request for names of the first witnesses who are going to testify, but agreed late yesterday to provide one witness name and for attorneys' eyes only. How unusual is that, Charles? What does it mean for Donald Trump?
It's relatively unusual, Alex, and I think that in this case, what you're seeing is prosecutors taking extraordinary steps to try to preserve the integrity of the case, given what we've already seen from Donald Trump around his behavior. They know that Donald Trump is going to do any and everything that he can without any regard for the gag order to put out the name of the witness, to try and get that name sullied as quickly as he can among not only his followers, but the general public. And if all goes well in his